All right, so we're back into another Dragon Ball Super card game video. This one, we have a special guest, with my janky little camera here. I'm so sorry, but oh well, you're gonna have to deal with it. We do have a top 4 from the CoreTCG event from this last weekend, and introduce yourself. Say hi. Say what's up.
Hello, I'm TamerAG's. My name's Ricardo. We talked with Slug, of course. Potentially, I feel like could have won the event, but it is what it is. We messed up against our only lost Kid Q. That was one of our toughest matchups, though, so it was a fair match.
I feel it. We can definitely talk through it. So, the first thing, and do you have any shout outs before we go through this, or do you want to save that to the end, I'm guessing?
I'll save it till then. It's cool.
For sure. Okay, so we're talking about Lord Slug. We just talked about it a little bit beforehand, and you've been playing it every so often for a few sets now. But why this deck versus literally any other deck? And of course, this is the webcam, so this is all the stuff that you have in person, right? But why this deck?
Slug is one of the decks where I felt most proficiency in. I feel like I've mastered the deck well enough to be able to play it against almost every matchup. Plus, it's one of the higher rarity decks that I have.
Oh.
So I was like, I want to look pretty, you know?
Right.
And just overall, Slug in the meta is fine. No one's really purposely maining against it.
Mm-hmm.
And in a best of one format, if you can surprise them with the deck they don't really see coming, it's really good. So Slug was a perfect pick, in my opinion.
Okay, for sure. All right, so I mean, I can understand that. I think, Slug is in one of those categories where it is a little bit rogue, but also I think it can compete. I think you prove that here. And since it is best of one, it is kind of a special format that you can kind of surprise people with. But how did you come about this deck in particular? Is it just because you had a high rarity, or just because you been playing it, or is it because of friends, or what?
So for me, Slug, I've always had a little soft spot for him since set 4. I just could never really find a correct build, and then when Destroyer Kings came out, I started playing it a lot more, and I don't know really how to explain it, but it's one of those pet decks, essentially. It's a deck that you really want to see do well, and so I just wanted to give it a shot here. I feel like it's a really strong deck, just people aren't playing it enough and don't know how to deal with certain matchups. Because I noticed on the Slug Facebook group, like, a lot of people do have trouble with the Gohan matchup, but for me, I don't struggle that much with Reboot Gohan, surprisingly.
Okay, and I'm guessing that was like one of your matchups, I'm guessing, or no?
No, I didn't get to play against them. I was hoping, but they so for our final round, it was 3 undefeateds, or 4 undefeateds. I was originally paired up with Surge Invoker. Him and George Machado both had a draw, so they were undefeated technically.
Oh, okay.
And I think we originally got paired up, and then I was like, they said that they had to do repairings, and I was like, please give me the Reboot Gohan. Please give me the Reboot Gohan. I can take him.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting paired up with George Machado, which was Kid Q, which is an even worse matchup for me.
I see. Well, I mean, that we could definitely talk through that when we talk through matchups. But since you didn't play Reboot Gohan, what is your suggestion for people who struggle with that? It's like,
so one thing I recommend, try to keep combo power as much as possible. Like your supers, always hold them up for their final attack, because when they go in for the final attack, they usually combo their entire hand. And if you can Paragus Super, draw 2, Paragus Super, draw 2, Paragus Super, draw, you can essentially thin through your deck and just survive long enough. Another thing that I noticed, the other Slug player, Josh Bradley, who played against the Reboot Gohan, one thing he really misplayed again, in my opinion, was he kept dormant potentialing really early.
Yeah.
And like, I can kind of see it because the guy was at like 5 life, so he could flip and then go for the triple crit. But you can take one triple. So I felt like holding back the dormant for a turn and then playing the Zuin blocker, which is a 0 cost.
Yeah.
Blocking with that, essentially turning dormant into a negate and then sacrificing right after for 0.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I see no reason not to do that and just force them to like have to waste that life, and then you just pressure with the 3 drop.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I mean, it's a similar thing with Dredgeku and a couple others as far as just using a blocker, right? So that makes sense. As far as like the curve and the thought process when it comes to the deck, what do you actually want to do? Do you want to drop down their hand? Do you want to aggress them with critical? Do you want to like out advantage them, or what's your plan when you play this deck?
Well, one thing about the deck, clearly, obviously, it depends on the matchups. Usually, for me, I try to play it a little slow. You know, let them try to force me down.
Yeah.
So there are certain matchups where you want to hit them with the crit, force them to discard one. You're going hand control mainly. That's the main focus. But on the side, if you can, mainly go for the crit hits. Don't really go for the 20Ks because you're just giving them hand at that point. You're doing the opposite of what your deck's supposed to.
For sure. Okay.
For
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so let's go through the deck then. I know we have 3 different Unisons. We'll get back to that in a second. We do have like kind of like the Slug core here, right? So we have like the wings. We have the blocker that we were talking about before. We have the 3-drop Slug that plays out the Angela, right? And then the 4-drop that plays out that, and then the 1/6 cost evolve targets, right? So we have a lot of cool things. We have some tech in the Fu and the Rebriand, of course, the Rebriand 2-drop and the 5-drop, and then we also have the Great Ape and along with the Master Roshi. So like if we look at the deck, or if you want to explain the main things that you changed recently, or just explain overall, whatever you want to explain, I'd like to hear it for sure.
So in the original build, I had 4 zoom in blockers. For this event, after the last event, when I realized Surge Invoker was going to be a big thing, I didn't think I needed 4. I still needed 3 for the Gohan matchups, because Gohan's probably, in my opinion, the best budget aggro deck right now.
Yeah.
You really need to know the matchup with that one. So I still kept the 3 zoom in blockers. With the whole, the whole Slug matchup, or Slug core.
Yeah.
Like with that, it is the main focus of the deck, I won't lie. But there were some matchups where I think I didn't fully, it's not that I didn't fully need it, but if I didn't see certain pieces, I still lasted long enough to be able to lower their hand size with the rest of the cards. You get me? Like the main focus for I blanked.
You're good. Yeah, you're good. Because we have the Slug core, right? But we also have Rebrand for the 5-drop. Do you usually drop that on turn 5 or no?
No, surprisingly, the whole event I didn't play it once.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm gonna be real, it's one of the only cards I'd cut out. I just ran into so many issues where it felt bad. The only reason it was in the deck was because I was fearing Topo. Topo leader, because they can spam the board with the monkeys, and you can let them do that, and then on turn 5 just drop Rebrand, annihilate their entire board. Sure, they can probably rest mode it, but then they have to get through a 30k with like 1 card played per turn.
Right. Exactly.
The Rebrand would have been good in the Topo matchup, but like no Topo players at all.
Okay. Did you end up playing Fu?
Yes, against the VegX. Oh my god, Fu was the MVP in that matchup because my opponent let me get the Bardock to 4 or 5 markers. So I went triple attack with Bardock, and then I dropped Fu. So I had 6 attacks right there, and they had 1 card in hand.
Oh, okay. Which is good.
And
which is good.
Yeah, and they tried to. I noticed if anyone goes back and rewatches the stream, we misplayed because he comboed the Kai or he power bursted, but he had no card in hand to activate power burst.
I see.
He was supposed to have an additional card to negate the attack.
Right.
Against, I feel like the Fu was kind of key for VegX matchups, just because their Kais also can't combo for 10 unless they warp an additional card. And then with the Bardock Unison against VegX, you can just rip their Bibities. Well, it won't be that much of a problem in the near future, but it'll help out a lot.
Yeah, definitely pretty key. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. I like that. And then we have the 3 Unisons, right? So are these like very specific for different matchups, or did you end up playing all of them in every matchup, or what?
So in most of the matchups, I think in 2 or 3 of them out of the 6, I played the Vegeta. I think Bardock got played twice.
Yeah.
Demigod got played almost every single time.
Okay.
Because if you don't see Wings turn 1, you need a turn 1 play with Slug. I feel, because if you don't play turn 1 as a green leader who can't really manipulate energy well enough, you want to use as much energy as possible and as efficiently as possible.
I agree.
So the Demigod, if you don't see Wings, Demigod turn 1's a fine play, because it also gets your charismatic villains live and it gets your dormants live against your aggro matchups.
Right.
And then also it helps you self-awaken, because a lot of people don't want Slug to hit 5 life, but luckily a lot of people forget Demigod has the skill to strike life instead of losing markers. So you can just strike life and hit yourself down to 5 and flip soon. there are a lot of matchups where you probably don't want to do that, but you don't want to lose your Unison, so you just do it anyways.
Yeah, that seems like to be the option that people have to choose when it comes to Demagogue.
Bardock's a fine turn 2 play after Wings too.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, after Wings you can drop him, and then the Vegeta Resolute Agent of Destruction. That one was splashed as a one of for decks that go wide because Slug, as I mentioned, or as I think I mentioned earlier, he's not very defensive.
Yeah.
Outside of the dormant, so this can handle their board by just discarding a Rebrand or a Draw Monkey.
Right.
It wipes their entire board, and Double Strike Critical helps you pressure to force them to lose hand because most people don't want to take Double Strike Critical, especially into the mid game.
For sure.
It kind of hurts. I think only once did I use the -5, and I think that was against George Macchiato, and I think I got him to 7 cards in hand and ripped him to 0 the same turn.
Oh wow. Okay, I see. Now, now that you mention it, you don't have to play Kai or Champa. Do you feel like you need to add that in, or do you think that's not necessary?
I used to tech it as a one of.
Yeah.
But it just felt bad for me personally. I just felt bad having to hopefully see it on the front side and into the late game. Like, it's cool with Anguilla and all, but I don't know. It just feels a little too weak when you're wanting to lower their hands, because they're going to take the critical more than likely if you double strike crit.
Yeah.
And you want them to have no hand so they can't defend against the 20Ks that are non-crit.
Right.
And I don't know. Just for me, I didn't think I needed it for this event mainly too. So.
Okay, that's fair enough. Is there anything else that you would change, add, or take away?
If you have the money, get Deity's Wrath. I feel like it's a fine card.
Okay.
I just didn't want to spend like the 70 or 80 for it.
That's understandable.
It's a good card with Frieza Charismatic Villain, especially if you're focusing on the Demigod Unisons.
Yeah.
Because Charismatic coming out turn 2 and then turn 1 and then turn 2 you drop Wings and then drop Deity's Wrath is perfect.
Yeah. That's pretty
especially because there's not that much board removal for Indestructible.
Right. Exactly. Okay, cool. And of course not that many people are playing red to minus it, of course, right?
Yeah, I think another card that I think can be taken out is the 6-drop Slug.
Okay.
I mainly ran it to get to Xenocell faster. It's a halfway to Xenocell.
Yeah. So that was the other question I had. So what was your targets for Cell?
For Cell, the main ones you wanted is if you had the 6-drop, pull out 6-drop, make them discard 3, and then you stack Frieza Charismatic and Wings. You stack all 3 and go Xenocell and rip 3 more on turn 5.
Okay. And of course
6 from your hand, and then with Slug's effect you rip 7.
Yeah, that's really good. You also have the 3-drop Cell and then Anguilla, of course, too, right?
I believe so. Yeah, another good combo that I really like that I think a lot of people forget. Yeah, Slug Young again into the 3-drop into Anguilla gets you to 10 already. And then you drop Zoom Blocker for 0, and then you can go Xenocell. You can go Xenocell as early as turn 3, and as long as you're not playing against AOD. If you're playing against AOD, that counter Android 13 really hurts.
It hurts, yeah, for sure. Okay, well, tell you what then. Let's talk about matchups before we close this one out.
Okay.
How many rounds did you play? One more time.
Total 6.
Played 6 rounds. Okay, so how did those go? Let's go through those.
So my round 1 was basically a free win. It was starter deck Vegex, literally just straight out of the box.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. It was Jeffrey Filler. I played against him. That matchup. The only thing that got me from time to time was the Bibbidi Supers, but luckily I always had Bardock with me in hand.
Yeah.
So I was fine on that front. And then I was able to... I think I ended up Xenocelling him, which was really great. That basically got me the game, I believe. And then in my second round, I played against Surge Kefla, probably the easiest matchup. Just never let him keep a hand. Ever.
For sure. And
then third match was Invoker. Invoker was a little tougher. I had to go for a make or break play. So I had Wings up, my leader, and Resolute Agent Destruction Vegeta. I believe he was at 3 life. So I went with Slug, and he ended up taking the hit. I didn't combo. He ended up taking the hit, putting himself in double strike range. And then I swung the Vegeta, and he didn't negate.
That's weird.
So I just went all in against him with 2 super combo Paraguses and just went for game because he was at 2 life.
Yeah.
I think the turn prior, I'd blown up his Vegeta as well because, Resolute Agent Instruction, just discard and blow up their Invoker.
Yeah.
And then, what was my fourth? I think my fourth, yeah, it was Eggman, I believe. My fourth round was Eggman.
Okay.
And he was playing the reboot Soul Striker. That one was interesting to say the least. It was a really good deck. I really liked it.
Yeah.
We managed to steal the win by him not drawing his draw monkeys.
Okay.
He didn't see his draw monkeys soon enough to get the drawback, and I was able to keep him at around 1 card in hand on average. Towards the mid game, and then from there we just kind of didn't let him get any cards from life to hand without it being critical. So it'd go to drop instead.
Yeah.
My fifth round was Vegex again, but this one was an actual Vegex, not the starter deck.
Okay.
Against that matchup, man, that matchup felt great. Because he messed up. He comboed Bibbidi. I had Bardock on board, so I ripped the combo, and he was swinging at the Angelica or Angela. I forget.
Yeah.
He swung at that, so I just comboed 5. I think it was a Reeb or a Draw Monkey, and just got out of it. And then next turn, I believe it was already turn 4 or 5 or something like that, and I already had Vegeta. No, I had the Bardock out, and then I went Bardock triple attack, and then I dropped Food Dark Banisher, and with 6 plus the 220s and then the leader, like it was insane. He didn't have enough hands to survive that attack at 4 or 5 life. There was just too much damage coming in on him. And then my last round was against Kid Q.
Yeah.
I played the Vegeta Resolute Agent Instruction too early. I think he only had a Topo and an Ox King out at the time, and a Kid Q. And then the turn after, he ended up just spamming the board, and I died to all the small drops hitting me for vanilla and 4 stars.
It'd be that way.
One thing I could have done was wait with the Vegeta Resolute and dropped it after he spammed the board.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to try to go for game or try to like lower his life at least. And I think I lowered him down to 2. Had I had the next turn, granted I didn't have it, but had I had another turn, I for sure would have had the game.
Yeah.
Because Xenocell, I believe, was in line. Oh no, I drew it. That's right. I remember now. I got Paragus and I drew into Fu and Xenocell.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah, it felt terrible because I had to work one or the other, and I had to figure out which one was the better way to win.
Yeah.
But then he ended up, I think he used the Unison to play more or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, to minus
I ended
1.
up having to combo away with the Fu or the Xenocell, and I was like,
That's just
had I won that round though, then I would have played against Father Son. I feel like Father Son meant that one.
I'm telling you.
You've
been saying it. Now the was that your last round?
Yeah, because
Oh, okay.
I believe there was only after that, the only truly undefeated person was the Reboot Gohan.
Yeah.
Because George Machado and I forgot the Invoker player's name. They both went for a draw, so they weren't technically undefeated, but
still
they basically.
Yeah. Okay, it's understandable. Pretty interesting range of decks, if anything. And you played against obviously Eggman and Machado, so there's definitely some competition there. And overall, I think you performed pretty dang well, just like you were saying. Well, I mean, on that, shout outs, anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I want to shout out Super Players Discord. They, man, over there, they've really, I've really been grinding with them this deck, and I feel like it's really solid. Because they have the free-to-play tournaments if anyone wants to join those. Yeah, we're starting to do paid tournaments as well.
Okay.
And then also, what was the other thing? I'm gonna upload my my separate deck profile. I don't know if you want to mention that or not. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll be uploading it just because I want to start doing content as well. Because
okay.
I feel like Slug's gonna still be there as a good deck. Just people aren't playing.
For sure. I feel like that about a lot of decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Slug if anything, and that's why I reached out to you. And I really appreciate taking the time, or you taking the time to do this. And I'm sure if anybody has any questions, you can always reply to their comments below.
Yeah.
And I got nothing else. If that's it, thank you again. If you guys have any questions, like I said, put in the comments below. Subscribe if you are new. Check out all the stuff that we just talked about. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Say bye.
See ya.